Chuck and I are not in a negotiation of, we're not going for the $5 billion for the wall. We simply are not.
Now that Democrats have won control of the House, did President Trump's last best chance at getting that wall already slip through his fingers? Earlier this year, he came out swinging against a bipartisan immigration bill that would have funded the wall and provided a path to citizenship for DACA recipients, calling it a catastrophe and a giant amnesty. The bill failed, and the wall, well, still not built. Joining me now is Stephen Miller, Senior Policy Advisor to President Trump. Stephen, does the president feel like this is like the sand in the hourglass that slipped through the through that little tiny hole?
Not at all. First of all, the bill that you mentioned in the lead-in would have, in fact, been a total catastrophe and gutted interior enforcement permanently forever. We've already built or have underway over 100 miles of the wall, and this stand that we're taking right now with the entire nation watching, and frankly the whole world watching, is a stand that we think we're going to win.
The fact checkers say your border wall claim, the president said a lot of it is already built, was not true.
Well, the fact checkers typically are wrong about these things, and they certainly are in this case.
So is there like the new wall, like the new,
there's
super duper new wall?
There's beautiful 30-foot rock-solid bollard steel in the ground. You can go down and look at it.
But is it up high and it's going up high?
30 feet tall.
Well,
so unlike the old, well, you have it in El Centro, for example. You have it in the San Diego area and in Calexico and many other areas too. Okay. But that 30-foot barrier.
I'm going there. I'm going to go just do a show from the wall. Maybe I'll sit on the wall when I do it.
Because you see the old shorter barrier that predated this administration. You see people climbing over it and throwing human beings over it. You need that 30-foot height. But I just want to say, I want to get to the real issue at hand. The Democrats are fighting for illegal aliens. Donald Trump is fighting for American citizens. That's what this whole thing's about. You've covered this better than probably anybody for years. You understand this is about sovereignty. It's about working men and women. It's about safe communities. It's about wages, living conditions, quality of life. This is the battle right now, right before our very eyes. We are going to win because Donald Trump is not backing down.
Jeff Flake, outgoing. Well, you'd be surprised to know, Stephen, he disagrees with you. Let's watch.
The notion that Democrats have prevented any fix. The last real vote we had on substantial immigration reform was the bipartisan bill that we did in 2013. Every Democrat in the Senate voted for that bill. This notion that this is all the Democrats' fault is just wrong.
Is that true? I mean, do Republicans deserve some blame here? I mean, we have a lot of Chamber of Commerce type Republicans. I just had a guy from Cato on. He's a nice guy, but they don't want any border. They don't want any enforcement down there. They want the cheap labor. They want a glut of workers so that wages stay down. Now we have a dearth of blue-collar workers, and wages are going up.
Well, look, if you zoom out, right, 30,000-foot view, last few decades of American history, there's no question that both parties in America have contributed to unwise foreign policy, unwise trade policy, and unwise immigration policy. Donald Trump came into office and has turned that all around, getting tough on China on trade, renegotiating NAFTA, cracking down on illegal immigration, dealing with unskilled, low-wage migration, reorienting our foreign policy. All of these issues, Laura, that have affected working people in our country for decades, he's turning them around. But the Democrat Party of today, not the Democratic Party of years past, not the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton in the 90s. The Democratic Party of today.
We know that. They're all for it. But how are you going to get the wall built? How are you guys going to get? He campaigned on the wall. Mexico's going to pay for it. Mexico's not going to pay for it, unless you're going to tell me something tonight that I don't know. But yeah,
just the savings from trade alone will fund it. But I'm actually glad you're bringing up the funding issue, because just the cost of heroin, in our country a year is $230 billion. Just the cost of public benefits for illegal immigrants every year is over $100 billion.
We did it last night, $18 billion just for the health care a year for illegal immigrants. That's the pay for most of the wall right there. Yeah. This is what Chuck Schumer said about the NAFTA payment. Let's watch.
The president repeatedly promised that Mexico would pay for his unnecessary and ineffective border wall. Well, Mr. President, if you say Mexico is going to pay for the wall through NAFTA, which it certainly won't, then I guess we don't have to.
So?
First of all, Chuck Schumer was for the wall when he voted for the Secure Fence Act in 2006, and now that his Democrat Party has become the party of open borders and Donald Trump is president, he's against it. Secondly, if Chuck Schumer wants to pass legislation saying that we can spend all of our trade savings on border security, that'd be great. In the meantime, the savings from the trade deal will offset the cost of the wall. And more importantly than all of that, the wall is going to save American lives, it's going to save American jobs, and it's going to save, in the long term, hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, you need the asylum reform. You've written about this in the past. I've certainly written about it. Without that reform, for people who cross the border with a child or someone who they say is a child, it's not a child, then they're still being released, are they not? They're still being released. You can't detain and house everybody because there are too many people. So they are effectively being released by the Trump administration now because we don't have reforms in place. How do we do that with the Democrat House?
This is going to be one of the defining issues of the next 2 years heading into 2020. And the Democratic Party follows the path of open borders, then the Democratic Party is going to engage in self-immolation. Donald Trump is fighting for working people, and he's fighting to restore the borders around this country that are the essential ingredient for national sovereignty and national success in a way that nobody has who's held that office, not only in my lifetime, but frankly, in the history of this country.
Do you feel like you can go out in public in restaurants in Washington? Do you?
I have no concerns.
You don't. So you eat. You're fine. You're not. Was that Broadway show going on outside your house yesterday? There was some. Do we have a video of it? Raymond said it was. Who was it looking like, Raymond? It was some kind. Well, it was like. Was it La Cage aux Folles or was it? I don't know. Who's paying these people? This is just. And you weren't even there. I mean, but. See, but you don't have walls, do you, outside your house, really? I mean, there's no... those are the tech people that have walls outside.
Ironically, they'd have a better chance of getting jobs if we could implement some of our immigration reforms that we've been talking about.
Very, very, very fun. Okay, what's going on with the Chief of Staff search? Everybody's saying it's a nightmare. I mean, I've heard this endlessly. It's a nightmare in the White House. The spirit is bad. Everyone's depressed. They said that a year ago. They said that almost 2 years ago. Number one, what is the spirit in the White House?
The spirit is wonderful. Not only the wonderful spirit of this sacred Christmas season, but also the wonderful spirit of getting to work for a leader who is fighting for everyday, ordinary citizens, just regular families in every part of this country. You did your segment on opportunity zones earlier. African American, Hispanic American, people who don't have powerful lobbies, powerful special interests, who don't have representation in big international organizations or on boards of corporate companies and large multinational businesses. Just everyday people in this country now have a champion in the White House. And getting to work for a president who fights every day for just normal, everyday citizens is a privilege beyond words. And all the people I work with feel the same way.
They're going to focus on the 7-year-old who, this horrific story, migrant girl who died from dehydration after being, brought into the country, or her parent brought her. She died. The left will focus on that as if that's Republicans' fault for our believing in a border. That they play the emotion game, and oftentimes we play the fact game. Facts are very antiseptic. Emotional stories sell the case.
Immigration is an emotional issue, and it ought to be an emotional issue because it affects people's lives. And if you want to stop the horrors on the northward trek, the rape that occurs, the abuse that occurs, the physical assault, and the death that occurs, then for the love of God, fund the border wall.
Stephen, Chris Christie, Chief of Staff, that's what we're hearing tonight. Could be him. Any comments?
I'm not going to make any news on the Chief of Staff announcement, but whoever the president chooses is going to be somebody who shares his vision, who's going to work hard to implement it, and who's going to be a great selection.
Stephen, thanks for being with us. Have a great holiday season.